Well, it's true, folks. I've got him. I've got him. The famous one and only Duncan Garner is right beside me. What a moment for me, let alone the rest of the world. Duncan, it's so bloody good to have you here. You know, having New Zealand's leading TV and radio host sitting alongside me, tin pot little amateur from all the way from the North Shore, it's an honour, mate. Thank you very much for coming on.
What the hell am I doing here then, Max? Nice to see you. No, you're very welcome. You're one of the good guys, and you've helped me along the way. So it's an absolute pleasure. Nice to see you, mate.
What the power I've got now, because this guy's interviewed me twice, I think, in my life, and that was a huge honour. But now I am in charge. I am the host. Well, at the moment, anyway. I suspect he's going to take over very, very soon. Hey,
Duncan. With an introduction like that, I think it might be time to take over, Max. But anyway, no, nice to see you, mate. It's all good. This is big time. I mean, you've got Auckland behind you, running behind you there, and it's exciting. It must be a massive audience, isn't it?
Oh, like probably 20, 30, 40, 1,000. Oh, you're used to that. You probably had 500,000 in your day.
Oh, huge, Max. Yeah, I couldn't count them all. Yeah.
But no one could, I don't think. So getting back to it, Duncan, we know why you left for family reasons, and we won't pry into your life, but what we do want to know is what's next for Duncan Garner. You're going to do this for a lifetime. Come and talk to me every day.
Yeah, no, I can't do that because I need to pay some bills. But no, I've got something planned. I've agreed to something, and all will be revealed shortly. Although it's not up for me to reveal it, as you'll no doubt appreciate. But yeah, no, I've done something. I've signed something. It's exciting, and it's a little bit new for me. Not overly new, but a little bit new, and it all will be revealed in the coming, I don't know, days or weeks.
You know what all the audience will be saying? Tell us what you're going to do, Max. Pump him, get up, thrash him, and bash him until he comes through with the information.
Yeah, Max. Don't you pump me, Max. I say.
Not at all. We'll drop it from that. But
you can ask all the questions you like. I've told you, Max.
One of the things, Duncan Garner, one of the things you're famous for, and one of the things that is calling it is when the situation in New Zealand's facing hardship, and as we are right now, there's one thing you did really, really well on the airwaves, and still will, is actually really call it how it is. So, look, New Zealand's into a deep, deep change right now, and I want to ask you this: do you reckon we'll ever get to normality again?
Yeah, of course you will. There'll be a. I mean, Earth and life and humanity is a long time, so we'll get to a normal again. It's just a matter of when. I think the situation we found ourselves in was totally avoidable. The government had, about 460 days outside of level 4. So they weren't in level 4 for 460 days, and they've bloody squandered the chance for us to be Delta free. I would have shut the borders a long time ago, and I always said this right from the start. On the AM show, I said shut the borders. Winston Peters gave everyone a time frame. He said you get back within the year. We should have shut the borders. And I know a lot of people say, "Oh, it's not acceptable. You can't do that." Bullshit. It's possible. We did it with India for a few weeks there. So I think the new normal is going to come at some stage. Who knows when? But right now, I think the government's driven Auckland, especially, into a coma. There's no plan to come out of this coma that I can see. It is a review week by week. It provides no certainty for business. It's a shocker for business. And there's things like no jab, no job. What's the government's position? You can't just allow businesses and bosses to independently come up with what the law is. The law must be given to the courts and to the bosses to administer. What about teachers? So we're saying that the schools are going back in a week's time, are we? So if the school's going back in a week's time, why can't restaurants go back? Are we going to send our kids to the war zone, but not us to the restaurants? It's so inconsistent.
Well, do you know one thing, Duncan? We've been calling for him on this show because we talk about small business a lot. So what we're saying is government show the way, show some leadership, get us a plan, all those sort of things are coming up. Now, one guy, I was on Talkback a while back, and he came up and said, Max, the government should show the way by, if it's no jab, no job, or no jab, no entry, then they should do it in the government departments first, all the parliament politicians themselves. They don't enter Parliament or do anything to do with Parliament and step out or even get sacked or dismissed if they haven't got a jab. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I agree with it. No jab, no job, I agree with, because New Zealand won't get to a stage of normality unless we get jabbed. We need high 90s jab rate. There'll be some people that can't get jabbed won't get jabbed for health reasons and legitimate exemptions. I accept that. But there will be some people who give the one-fingered salute to the government and the anti-vaxxers and so forth. We will be doing this to stick it up that I'm not getting jabbed, but they just can't be bothered. They're not part of society. They feel very much on the margins of life, and they just won't do it. They can't be bothered. They're not in the mainstream. They don't believe they should do it. They don't care.
But Duncan, if we had
they should be stood down from their jobs or lose their jobs because they are bringing the health and safety of all the other employees into question.
So if we had no jab, no job law in here, as the EMA and a lot of business sectors are calling for, look, only 50% of us have had 2 jabs. So that means at least 50% of all employees will be dismissed. It's not the right time, is it, Duncan, to do that?
No, you set a time frame. So you say, because do New Zealanders want Christmas? I assume they do. So we want Christmas. So you set a time frame, mid-December or the 20th or whatever it is. Get a time frame, set the date, and say to New Zealanders, if you're not jabbed by then, you could lose your job or you could be stood down from your job. Now, some employers will play it differently, but there needs to be guidance at a central government level, a bit like fluoride. So I mentioned that, all the anti-fluoride will come on with the anti-vaxxers, but the government needs to set the tone for it because it's employment law. Just like health, set the tone, get jabbed. Like fluoride, set the tone, put fluoride in the water. It is a central government issue.
Now, we've got some residents of New Zealand here who are going to, even if they've had double jabs. Now, I'm talking like rest homes, hospitals, even the border workers, but had 2 jabs. Now, they are vulnerable, very vulnerable to getting COVID as well. So what do you think about the fact that right now, no jab, no job, no jab, no entry should happen to, we should red circle some of those places, sort of give them a red label. And they are done right now. But later on, maybe we get down to a point where people who don't vaccinate are going to have to wear masks and have to keep a 2-meter distance from the workplace.
It's going to be worse than that. You're going to have a society, and I've written about this before, but you're going to have a society, Max, where the unvaccinated are not part of normal society. They will not be welcome in schools, hospitals, universities, restaurants, cafes. They will be shunned by society. They might as well have a cross on their forehead. They will not be accepted in mainstream normal life. There'll be a vaccine passport. Why the government hasn't organised this in the 460 days it went to sleep, I don't know. Useless, hopeless. They got complacent and smug. But we should have this stuff all ready to go. Yes, agree on a date, but there'll be the vaccinated, there'll be the vaccinated and the unvaccinated. It'll be really as simple as that. And the unvaccinated will become, in my view, whether that's fair or not, a second-class form of citizen because they won't be allowed to mainstream events. No concerts, no, even supermarkets. How do they go shopping in supermarkets without being vaccinated? If they have an exemption card or so forth, they have to be looked after. But how does an unvaccinated person survive in a vaccinated world?
Well, one solution's been proposed for that, Duncan, is that like right now you got to get a swab up your nose. So a vaccinated person should be swabbed every day before they even start work or go in near anybody.
Pain in the ass. What a pain in the ass.
What's your thoughts on the speed of saliva testing coming out?
Hopeless. Have we agreed to it yet? Have we agreed to it now? We've got something coming. Why wasn't it done in the 460 days that the government put their feet up in the Koru Lounge at Auckland Airport? Where was the government? What were they doing in 460 days? I would ask the question of the Prime Minister. I'd say, well, hang on a second. Where's the vaccine? Don't we need it so we can prepare for the next battle? Oh, Duncan. I would be patronised. Yeah. Oh, Duncan. We don't need it as much as other countries need it. We're ahead of the game. We're leading the world. We've even met our own hopelessly low tests. Don't you worry. All is under control. We were lied to. We were misled. We were told we were in front of the queue and everything was okay. No. We didn't even pick up the email. We didn't pick up the phone. We should have pushed Pfizer, and we were weak, and we showed a real lack of commercial nous around the cabinet table, in my view.
Now, according to Jacinda, as much as she denies it, she says elimination, they're re-looking at the strategy. Now, look, that went out the window a long time ago. But Duncan, we're going to get people who are going to have the virus, and we're going to get some people who are badly affected. Now, what about MIQ centres? I mean, do you think the government's done enough in the last 18 months or whatever time is to prepare for MIQ centres rather than using 5-star hotels? Is there alternatives?
Where is the alternative? There's not one. You know, the Chinese, and we can't compare ourselves to China, but the Chinese, over one weekend, built those hospitals and MIQ centres. The problem with this government is they haven't gone far enough and wide enough into the commercial sector, private sector, call it what you like, to seek solutions. So they haven't gone out and said, what can you do for us? What can you do? And give them a 48-hour period or 3-day period or a week period to bring in their solutions and bring in their things and bring in their ideas. The Prime Minister convenes a private meeting with all the players, and they look through these things, a bit like the job summit that John Key held years ago. They look through all these ideas and they say, bang, 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 we'll take all those. No, this government's kept the round table as small as possible. The secret set, Bloomfield, Jacinda, Grant Robertson. You know, David Clark is the initial health minister. He got arsehole back to Dunedin. Hipkins is obviously in there, of course, as well. But this is the circle of trust, or the kitchen cabinet, as they call it. Very few other people know what's going on. I don't know what the rest of the cabinet ministers are doing, but they're not earning their coin. So they should have reached out. They should have looked for solutions. Instead, they thought what worked back then is working now, and it ain't. And it's been revealed, sadly, in a very expensive way.
Well, this government says, look, they've always looked at our health as number one priority. And look, the business sector that I belong to is saying, hang on, you've got to balance it off with our prosperity for the future as well, and setting us up and getting us loans. So right now, Duncan, a lot of businesses, and as I say, the productive sector of our whole society, those that generate the money, are actually being forgotten and left behind. What do you think she could have done for them?
Well, she could have met her word and delivered a result so they'd be back at work. They don't have any certainty of when they are going to be back. Businesses, and especially businesses in Auckland, have taken the brunt of COVID-19. They've been asked to have stand down after stand down after stand down, lockdown, call it what you like, but they've been asked to do it from home. And I hate this word, they pivoted relatively quickly and worked out, hey, they can still survive at level 3 and make some money. Level 4 kills them. Level 4 is a disaster. I didn't think she would go back to level 4, and she did with the beginning of Delta. Level 3 is effectively level 4 with a few French fries in between. It's not that great, level 3. It's not operating. I had 2 property valuers come around to the house yesterday. Level 3 property valuers come into the house. It took me 3 weeks to get them here. I had to sign all sorts of things, negotiate all sorts of things. And when they got here, I had to sort of yell at them from across the hallway. We couldn't speak to them. We all had masks on. Yet they'd been vaccinated. I've been vaccinated. We all had masks on. It wasn't fit for purpose. It didn't need to be like that. You've got to profile people properly. You've got to see where the risks are. I haven't left. The furthest I've been away from Auckland in the last 2 years is going to Taupo. And I went there for a few days with my son in the last school holidays. I've been bloody nowhere, because isn't that the best way to go nowhere? Others have been perhaps more selfish and individual and that sort of thing or whatever, but that's up to them, and that's for them to be accountable for. But we have not been loyal to business like business and New Zealanders have been loyal to the government. We've done everything we've been asked to do. We've been more than compliant. We have been internationally the most compliant people on this bloody planet. And what do we get in response? A government that I think has misled us along the way. The most important thing wasn't the MIQ or anything like that. The most important thing to them was their reputation. They cared more about how they were perceived than what they were actually doing in the end.
Exactly. Do you know, Duncan, you've been around, look, you're a political reporter way back. Was it 20 years ago, 25 years ago? But you've been around a long time. But what I'm perceiving is that the feelings of people in regards to politics, regards to, you know, the vaccine, there was so many anti-vaxxers out there, but the passion, the emotion, the refusal to engage with people, the council culture in our society these days. I mean, have you noticed the change that there has been in the last 20 years?
Yeah, I have, and in the last 6 weeks, I have to look at my own mother, and she's not one to get angry, or she's a pretty happy, sociable sort of person. I've noticed a change in her in the last 6 weeks. She's pissed off and angry with this thing now. She doesn't think it's been handled that well. My son, he's 11 years old. He's a rugby league player and goes to school. You know, he does all these things. He loves his boys and his people and his schoolmates and everything. He's desperately now missing them. You know, there's only so many weeks he can hang out with his dad, you know. bull rush and those sorts of things, it's starting to hurt him. So he needs to be back in school. He needs to be. People need to be mixing in their own social circles. It takes 3 weeks to form habits. What habits have we picked up in the last 6 weeks? Will we return to the cafes and the bars and the places we used to go to? And if we don't, what does it mean for society? What does it mean for those businesses? Where's the money going to flow? Money only works if it's passed around. You give me $10, I pass away 5 to 2 here, 1 there. That's how economies work. To flow money. And I don't know if it's happening or not. The big bounce that we had out of COVID last time, is it happening this time in the housing market? I've just received a property report that says we want to err on the side of caution. We think there's more damage than good out of this one this time. So I think people are changing. I think society is changing. And what does it mean?
Yeah, Duncan, I'm just watching some of the comments coming up at the moment while we're doing this, and a lot of them are anti-vaxxers. A lot of them are not happy with you, and some of them are very happy with you. And that's what I'm saying. It's the polarization. Not only, I got it as well. I'm getting it as well. So it's the polarization, and people are becoming embittered rather than actually engaging in a conversation pleasantly and having a disagreement where it's not a bitter argument where it could come to not blows, but certainly, that's it. I'm not having anything more to do with you, pal. You're on your own. That's the sort of stuff we see.
It takes us nowhere, Max. It takes us nowhere. There's no use getting personal in this. It's no use getting personal at all. It takes people nowhere. But I mean, to those people who there'll always be anti-vaxxers and stuff, and good on them for getting engaged today. But the thing is, if you want to hold your society back, if you want more lockdowns and more of this delay and disruption, then don't get vaccinated. If you want society to slow down to a halt like it is now, don't get vaccinated. But if you want your old life back, go and get the shot. I went and got it. It takes 2 seconds, 15-minute wait afterwards. You don't feel a thing. It's okay. Do you want your life back or not? I do.
Look, and one of the questions here for you, Duncan, and they're saying, and look, you might want to dodge this. Who knows where your future is, but it might give us a hint. But this guy's saying, what's your view on the mainstream media and how they're reporting, that what the functions of COVID throughout the globe and also in New Zealand?
So it's a big question. It's a good question. We've had to accept at face value what the government's told us about COVID. And my view is that while you have to report to them at face value, you must get competing voices, which I think the media has done well. I think the media is turning. The media in Wellington is always the last one to turn. I've been part of this. I was in the press gallery for 17 years. So there's a very complicated relationship between the government and opposition and the press gallery, because they serve each other in many ways. And you don't want to become such an arsehole that you cut off all your political contacts and that you can no longer do the job. But you also don't want to become so compliant with the government of the day that you're hopelessly confused and you're hopelessly in their pockets. Very few of the press gallery are like that. But I can see how it can happen. They need to keep asking the tough questions, and I think they are. I mean, Toby O'Brien's hardly a friend of politicians and people like that. So I think the media's done. I'm not here. It's not media.
She's your friend.
It wouldn't be credible for me to bash the media. I mean, it's a bloody hard, tough job, and they've done it right. But lies are exposed. Okay, so the government might tell us a porky. We might not be onto it straight away, but the truth emerges, and it always will and always does.
True enough. I mean, there's a couple of comments here. One person said, I'd like to see you, Duncan, harder on politicians. And another one up there said, well said, Duncan. This is Sue Lester. So Sue, hello. But and Michael's saying he'd love to see you get harder on politicians. Whereas I think you've explained that rather well. If Duncan was really harsh on them all the time, they'd probably exclude you, as they have done a few other hosts in the media.
Well, this is what I've learned. This is what I learned from coming to Auckland, leaving the press gallery, coming to Auckland, being on the radio live, and then doing the AM show, and that sort of thing, and the story and all that sort of stuff. I reckon I became a better, more well-rounded journalist once I left Parliament. Parliament, I couldn't see the wood for the trees. I was surrounded by bullshit and spin, politicians with their own agendas, the press gallery's mad competition, and all that sort of stuff. It was bloody difficult and confusing every day, and you got through it. I came to Auckland, I stepped back, and I saw and talked to other people outside of that zone, and I became more well-rounded. I realised about the things people talk about and what matters. And some of the stories, I look back at what I did, some of the stories in Wellington, I think shivers, that was completely irrelevant, but I thought it was the biggest thing ever. People's lives they live them right here in front of their faces. Okay, so the issues are right in front of their faces. That's what they care about. They don't care about some of the shit that we talk about in the media. So they'll switch off and do things. You don't want them switching off. So sometimes you have to follow what people are actually doing and the relevancy of what they do in their lives and their lives personally. Okay, so that's when I thought I became a better, more well-rounded person as much as a journalist by leaving the press gallery. It must happen. If you're in the press gallery for 50 years, you see it through the lens of the press gallery.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. There's a question here for you. It's very personal. Are you braced for this? Gwen, I'm going to ask you a question. She said Duncan needs a shave. Now, Duncan, are you going to grow a beard? Next time we see you, are you going to have a big, long beard down to your belly button, or how are you doing this?
No. If I get a job that requires me to shave, and when it's revealed that I have a job that requires me to have a shave, I'll have a shave. But right now, I don't have any master. I'm at home. My son's in the next room. I've built floating lights under his bed, which his bed is now floating. I put a base under his bed. Yeah, I saw it on YouTube, and I bought some motion sensor lights. I built this platform, put his bed on there, put the lights around it. So when you walk into his room, bing, it lights up. See, that's what I like.
I wouldn't mind that.
And he lay on his bed the other night, and he goes, "Man, this is so cool." And he's lying there. I saw the grin on his face, and I was lying there with him. And he said, "Any chance for a massage, Dad?" And I said, "Oh, mate, the floating lights are enough to start with." But I saw how happy he was with his floating lights. We did it. We looked at YouTube. We followed the manual. It doesn't always work like this, and it happened. And like I can name all the stories and awards and shit that you win. What's more important? At the end of the day, that I saw the smile and the happiness on his face from having the motion censored floating bed and the lights under it. It's quite cool. Anyway, if you do want to get in touch with me, you can, and I'll show you how to do it.
Do you know what, Duncan? There's one thing that really is I think everybody will relate to is on the AM show, you did nothing but talk about your lovely son. I mean, you just adore that boy, obviously. And to hear you talking about him and all the effort you put into him just now with so much love, you'd almost swear you're his father. You are his father. I mean, it's just incredible to see that real passion and consideration for someone so important to you. Yeah,
so because we've been through a bit together, so and we live together, and he's here in the next room, and I'm here, and I've told him not to come through this door right here, because if he does, he'll be around the world.
Well, we wouldn't mind. I'd love him to come on the show. Bring him in.
Hang on a second.
Get Buster. Buster's his name, I know.
Yeah. Buster.
This will be amazing. Imagine getting Buster on. I don't know if he was on the AM show, but certainly I never saw him. But I tell you what, if he turns up on this show, this is a real coup today for Max Whitehead. Just a little boy from Eltham, bound Taranaki, and I've scored bloody Duncan Garner and maybe Buster. Come on,
here he
is he there?
Here's my boy.
Hey, Buster, how are you, man? Good to see you.
Good.
Well, look at that, folks. Have you been
how much shorter you are? See how much, he can't believe how much shorter he is than me. Look at that.
Oh yeah, no. We know that your father's on a stool to try and make out you're smaller. Hey, tell us about your new bed. He's been bragging.
I've been doing that.
It's pretty cool, eh? Out of 10? Out of 10, how much?
9.
9? What's wrong with it?
9.
Nothing's perfect.
Nothing's perfect. It's pretty cool, isn't it? I think I had a picture.
You go to sleep with the lights on?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would too. It'd be just nice to wake up in the night, Is it flashing lights, or they just different colors?
You can change them. You can make them flash, and you can just keep them normal.
Do you get a remote as well, so you can get under the covers and change the colors?
Yeah.
Max, don't get dirty now, mate. Come on.
Hey, Buster, I will show you. Thank you.
Max is saying thank you.
Thanks, buddy. And we really appreciate you coming on the show, because that's a big coup for us.
This is a show?
Yeah, this is Max's show. Max Whitehead's World. Yeah.
There's probably 10 people out there watching you. This is big time for your dad. I don't think he's ever had some. What the heck's that?
Yeah, it's a floating bed.
That's the floating bed. Look at the lights.
It's very hard to see. Very hard to see.
That's a teddy bear on the bed, and there's the bed, and there's the lights underneath it. Look at that. It's floating,
Look
Max.
at that. Wow.
I mean, yeah.
Why don't
0800
you could have a business. Maybe is that your new business, Duncan? Is that what you're going to do? Painting, making beds.
We thought about that.
We did that or water blasting houses, but we got it better off, Max.
Move over Sleepyhead. Maybe you guys can get a contract with Sleepyhead. Do you want me to talk to them?
There's only one Sleepyhead around here. Okay, Buster, thank you, mate. He's off. Okay, buddy. No more interruptions.
That was a big hint. Bugger off, though. We've had enough of you now. Oh, that wasn't very nice, Duncan. That wasn't.
Yeah, he's all right. Can you make me a drink, Buster?
Cup of tea for the old dad, hey? Oh, well.
Yeah,
look, Duncan, thanks
this
for
is a good Friday catch-up, Max.
You got any final words, or you got any words of wisdom that you're going to give us before you go? Or maybe a song. I'd like a song.
A song?
Yeah.
You can't put me on the spot like that because I haven't got my electric guitar and things here. What we'll do is we'll promo this. The next time we catch up, it'll be a Friday. Hopefully, maybe we have a little beer or something like that, and we invite others. And if I'll do a little number, but I want to plan for it and get it right because the guy says,
would you read? I was only
preparation
joking.
is king. Preparation is king, Max. Preparation is king.
Wow.
And don't be unprofessional. You want to go in there as professionally and as good as possible to deliver. So you give me some time and I'll deliver. How's that for putting off?
We've seen the real side of Duncan Garner before we see the formal side. So tonight we've actually met your son. We've heard about your hobby of making fancy glowing beds that float. And now we're going to hear you sing next time you're coming on.
Yeah,
look, folks, stand by. I'd say next Friday we're going to have more big treats from Duncan Garner.
I'll just look at my diary. She's looking pretty full, Max, but we'll do it. We'll do it.
All right, then, Duncan. Look, thanks for coming on, and we really appreciate it. Look, we'll make another Fridays very soon, shall we?
Yeah, really good. And thanks to people for listening and watching and that sort of thing. I appreciate it. And we'll catch up again. Can I reckon Max is brilliant. He's one of the best guys in the business. And honestly, a lovely joker. And he's fun to talk to as well. So thanks, Max. You're a good guy.
All right, mate. Thank you. Cheers, guys. And thanks for all watching. We'll catch you soon.
Buster, where's my drink?